Hi, I'm Dr. Chen, and today I'm going to explain how does teeth whitening work. I feel like this is necessary because to this day I haven't found a single article or video online which actually explains how teeth whitening products work and how they turn your teeth white. All right. In order to really understand this, you do have to watch until the end of the video and you do have to listen very closely because I'm going to go over exactly how the mechanisms work. And by the end of the video, you will understand how every single whitening product whitens your teeth. Okay. But first of all, the first major concept that you need to understand is the difference between extrinsic stains versus intrinsic stains. Extrinsic stains are basically stains that are on the surface of the tooth. So I mean, this is a tooth model with a crown on it. So basically, an extrinsic stain would be like food or plaque or calculus tartar that is like on the surface of the tooth. It's not inside of the tooth, but it's just merely sitting on the outside of the tooth. An intrinsic stain is different in that these are stains that are deeply embedded within the tooth. So essentially, these stains are not on the outside; it's actually inside of the tooth where you can't really reach to. In order to kind of demonstrate what I mean by this, is I will let's use some chili garlic sauce as an example. So for like extrinsic stains, right? It would be kind of like if I take some of this and I just kind of dumped it on the plate, right? So that is essentially an extrinsic stain. It is sitting on the exterior surface of the tooth. In order to kind of get rid of these, you could kind of just scrub it away, right? And that's it. That's like is an extrinsic stain because it's literally on the surface and you could remove it by just getting rid of it. However, an extrinsic stain is a little bit more complicated because these are kind of embedded within the tooth. I guess like a good example would be like a wine stain on like a white t-shirt where you could kind of scrub the exterior of the white t-shirt, but the stain is not gonna disappear. In order to kind of get rid of it, you do have to bleach the tooth. Bleach the shirt to get rid of it. So like an example would be, here you could use like some vanilla extract. This is brown in color, so it's perfect for staining things that are nice and white, like this white paper towel here. Right, you just kind of pour that in. All right, it will stain. Right, you see it immediately changes it into a different color. Alright, let me just kind of get rid of that. Alright, it's like this is soaked in. It's like within the paper towel. You can't really get rid of it. You could like try to like wipe it, but that's not gonna come off. Right? We all know that's not gonna come off. And if we get this on our clothing, mostly we usually have like a Tide pen that they use to kind of try to bleach it off of the clothing. Alright, but yeah, so that's basically the two type of stains that you can get on your tooth, right? It can either be extrinsic or it could be intrinsic. Why that is important is because there are actually two different types of whitening agents, right? And how they whiten your teeth, right? So so the first type of whitening agent would be like a mechanical abrasive, which you will often find in toothpastes actually. So if you look at the vast majority of toothpastes out there, kind of like this one, the Colgate Plaque Pro Relief, right? You can see it says whitening paste on there. All right, so you have to look at the ingredients very carefully. Over there, inactive ingredients. So the whitening agent in this would actually be the hydrated silica, which is just like a gritty textured material. And basically how these abrasives work is that they add grit to the paste. So when you kind of scrub the teeth with the toothpaste, the abrasiveness of it will kind of rub away the stain that is on the exterior of the tooth. I guess kind of like analogy would be like if you're using like sandpaper and you're kind of like scrubbing away something. You're like mechanically trying to remove the stain. And basically, these whitening abrasives, right, they're good for removing extrinsic stains, and they're typically found in all toothpastes that say that they have whitening. So, the common ones would be like hydrated silica, calcium carbonate, sodium bicarbonate, which is baking soda. Yeah, and that's it for the mechanical abrasive whitening agents. The second type of whitening agent would be peroxide, actually. So some common peroxides would be hydrogen peroxide and carbamide peroxide. And how these whitening agents work is that they're different from the mechanical abrasives because the peroxides will actually chemically bleach the tooth. Kind of the same way how you like bleach a t-shirt. Usually when we say like teeth whitening, people will think of the chemical bleaching with peroxide. Like if you go to the dentist, you know how they use like the professional whitening gels? Those gels will whiten your teeth by chemically bleaching them. Not by mechanically abrading your teeth, but by chemically bleaching them. So essentially how peroxide whitens your teeth is that they actually don't whiten by scrubbing the tooth to remove any stains, right? These chemical bleaching agents are very good in that they could kind of diffuse through the tooth to reach the intrinsic stains to kind of bleach them. So I mean, you don't really think about it, but like the peroxide can actually go through every layer of your tooth, right? So that means it will kind of penetrate through the enamel and then penetrate through the dentin, and then it can even reach the pulp of the tooth. That is actually why your teeth will get sensitive if you whiten them for like an extended period of time. It's because the peroxide is an acid and it will diffuse through the enamel, the dentin, and get all the way to the pulp. So imagine acid in the nerve of the tooth. That makes it pretty sensitive, right? So hopefully that explains why your teeth get sensitive from chemically bleaching your teeth. But the most interesting thing is the actual whitening process of how peroxide whitens your teeth. It's a little more different than how you think it works. Like how peroxide actually whitens your teeth is that it will diffuse through the tooth and then it will oxidize all of the organic matrices, but not the inorganic matrices within the tooth. So essentially the stain molecules, right, they will become embedded inside of the tooth, and then the peroxide will actually break down into free radicals, and these free radicals will attack the stains. But how it attacks it is that it will actually not really remove the stain per se, but it will actually just make them invisible, if that kind of makes sense. But essentially, like all stain molecules, right, they have like double conjugate bonds, right? A single bond, another one, and a double bond, another one, single bond, another one. All right, so they're just like kind of repeating chains of these things. But how the peroxide, or H2O2, it will actually separate into like one of the free radicals will like that, and it will actually transform one of these double bonds. It will transform that into a single bond, actually. And the fact that it transformed the double bond into a single bond, it actually makes the stain appear lighter. In order to kind of understand what I mean by all of this is that the color of a molecule, or rather, if you kind of remember back in elementary sciences, typically if you have like a very dark color, it will have a lot more double bonds in it, like a lot of double bonds, right? And a molecule that appears lighter will have less double bonds. Okay, so if you have like a color black, it will have a ton of these double bonds. But if you have a lighter color like yellow, it will have a lot less of it. So essentially what these double bonds do is that they actually absorb light and they reflect less of it. So if you remember like black, right? Black is a color where it actually absorbs all of the light and it reflects very little of it. But the opposite is true for like the color white for a white T-shirt, because the white T-shirt will reflect all of the light and they absorb less of it. Essentially, these double bonds are what absorbs the light. So like a dark stain on your tooth, right, will have a lot of these double bonds, but a very light or white tooth, like Hollywood white smile, they have very little double bonds. Okay, so essentially, when you chemically bleach your teeth or whiten them with peroxide, all you're doing is that they're not actually getting rid of the stains inside the tooth. The stains stay in the tooth, but they convert all of these double bonds into just single bonds. So basically, it's just not absorbing light and it's reflecting all of it, so it makes the tooth look white. Isn't that amazing? But yeah, so that is basically how peroxide will bleach your teeth. Okay, and this is a very different process than how the mechanical abrasives kind of quote unquote whiten your teeth. But in my opinion, that's not really like whitening per se. When we talk about whitening, most people think about the bleaching with peroxide, and that kind of brings me to the different types of whitening products and how they work. Like professional whitening, like the take-home systems from your dentist, and the in-office whitening, they all use peroxide to chemically bleach the teeth. But the at-home products, you have like a variety of them. Like a common one would be like the Crest white strips, right? These are just strips that you place on your teeth. These do contain hydrogen peroxide in there. Let me see. Oh, right there, hydrogen peroxide. So this works similarly to how your dentist bleaches your teeth. It uses a chemical whitening agents to bleach your teeth. No, and then this is a take-home product from your dentist, right? Peroxide. There you go. Peroxide, peroxide, peroxide everywhere, right? So this is a chemical bleaching agent, but then you also have like the mechanical whitening products, like toothpaste, right? So these do not chemically bleach your teeth, but just to show you one more time, it uses hydrated silica. But if you look closer, there is no hydrogen peroxide in there. So whitening toothpastes like this will not chemically bleach your teeth. So in case you're ever wondering why like the whitening toothpaste doesn't really do too much per se for the changing color of your teeth, is because it does not contain peroxide. So this is with like the typical whitening toothpastes are like this, and then you also have like the fancier ones like the hydroxyapatite ones, right? These also say whitening on there. All right, so these actually will mechanically abrade away stains. So it will only get rid of extrinsic stains. As you can see here, calcium carbonate, limestone abrasive, right? It also has baking soda in here too, sodium bicarbonate. So these toothpastes, they whiten your teeth by mechanically scrubbing away extrinsic stains. But unfortunately, the extrinsic stain removal process with the abrasives cannot remove intrinsic stains. So these are like the deeply embedded stains within the surfaces of the tooth, because you can't brush inside of the tooth. You can only brush the outside enamel of the tooth, right? But that doesn't mean that whitening toothpastes don't work, because there are whitening toothpastes that do contain peroxide, like the Colgate Optic White Pro series right here, and it says removes 15 years of stains, right? If you look right there, it has 5% hydrogen peroxide. So this toothpaste is very different from these, right? They're completely different products in my opinion. Like this one will actually bleach your teeth because it has peroxide, and these will not bleach your teeth because they do not have peroxide. So if you wanted to use a more effective whitening toothpaste, you should specifically look for one that has hydrogen peroxide. These will also remove extrinsic stains as well. Let me see if I could try to find the ingredient right here. All right, it's hydrogen peroxide there, and there you go, silica right there. So that's the extrinsic stain remover, the mechanical abrasive, and then the peroxide right there is the chemical bleaching agents. I have used this before, and this one will bleach your teeth. Because the few times I've used it, it actually bleached my gums white. It does turn it white, so that's how you know it can actually, it's actually working. But that's essentially how most teeth whitening products work, right? You either remove extrinsic stains with mechanical abrasive by scrubbing the surface, or you can remove intrinsic stains by chemically oxidizing the stain molecules. And then just to remind you, you know the intrinsic stain, like bleaching process, doesn't technically remove the stain per se, because the stains stay embedded inside the tooth, but it's just that the stain becomes invisible to the naked eye. With all that being said, these extrinsic stain removing toothpastes are still really important, because like if you can physically eliminate the stain that's on the tooth, it does keep it whiter and prevents it from staining. You don't actually want an accumulation of extrinsic stains, because the extrinsic stains will eventually become intrinsic stains, right? They can eventually kind of make the way into the interior surface of the tooth, and then kind of turn it a lot darker. But yeah, that's basically all I have to say. All right.